Okay, so we're going to start off looking at the cosine rule for a missing side. We looked at this the last day, but again, just to link in with everything that we're doing, angles in a triangle having 180 degrees. That won't help me in this case because I've got two unknown angles. 90-degree triangles, I can't assume there's a 90-degree there. I can never assume. So in this case, I know that I can't deal with 90-degree triangles because I can't use Pythagoras' theorem and I can't use trig ratios because I have no concrete evidence that there's a 90-degree triangle. The next thing is the area of a triangle half AB sine C. That I can't use that in this case because I don't know what the area is. Okay. The sine rule, in order to use the sine rule, I need an opposite side and an opposite angle. So I could pair two of these together and I could pair two of these together and I'd end up with my two fractions. But in those two fractions, I'd have an unknown in the left fraction and an unknown in the right fraction. If I use the two of these, I'd have one unknown. If I use the two of these, I'd have one unknown. So I can't use the sine rule because there's too many unknowns. So in this case, when you have an angle and three sides, and obviously you're looking for one in this case, I have to use the sine rule. So in this case, I'm going to use the sine rule. And the sine rule, I'm going to put it up here. The sine, or the cosine rule, I should say. The cosine rule is so the cosine rule is going to be a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos of capital A. Okay, so that's what the cosine rule is. Okay, so a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos of A. Now, it's important that you realize that comes up in the exam or in the log tables, so you don't need to learn it, you just need to be able to use it. So we always start by labeling the angle. In this case, the angle is going to be capital A, and capital A is going to be there. So lowercase a is going to be directly opposite it. So obviously this one here is A, which is already given, you could say. And B and C are the other two sides. Doesn't matter what way you label them. So I'm just going to label this one B and this one C. Okay. So that's that. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to fill in the information I have. So instead of A, I'm going to put in the value that I have. So in this case, it's actually going to be 8. So I'm just going to put A in. 8b squared is equal to, the next one is B. So B in this case is 7. So I'm going to put in 7b squared. Plus C in this case. C in this case is 6. So I'm going to put in 6b squared. Minus 2 times 7 times 6. I can do that quite quickly because I know B and C are 7 and 6 because I just used them there. Okay, but you should be double checking that their B is 7, 7, C is 6, 6, and then cos of the angle. So in this case, cos of A and the angle is 39. So filling in the information should be quite straightforward, right? The next step is to simplify what you have. So obviously a squared is going to stay at a squared. 7 squared will turn into 49. Plus 6 squared will turn into 6 times 6, which is 36. The next thing that I have to look at is all of this here. And I need to look at that and I need to make sense of it. So 2 here represents a number, 7 represents a number, 6 represents a number, and cos of 39, if I type that into a calculator, would represent a number, right? So everything that's highlighted there represents a number. So if everything that's highlighted represents a number, then I need to type it into a calculator and find out what number I can put in here instead of all this long stuff, instead of all the long sum, right? So I need to be able to get a number there. So I'm going to type that into the calculator. So negative 2 multiplied by 7 multiplied by 6 multiplied by cos of 39 will give me an answer of minus 65. So minus 65.280.26076. Okay. So I need to be able to tidy that up. And if I'm going to tidy that up, all I'm going to do is just put all my numbers together. So I can add the two of these and subtract this. So I can say that a squared will be equal to 49 plus 36 minus 65.280 and so on. And type it into the calculator, you'll get 19.71973924. And these questions ask you to round, so that's a squared. So to find out what a is, I need to get the inverse operation to square, and the opposite operation to square is square root. So I have to get the square root of all of this, and to get the square root of all of that will give me my answer. Okay. So if we just get the square root of both sides there, the square root of 19.719 and so on just is going to be the square root of that, and the answer there will be a is equal to, so I'm going to put a is equal to 4.440691.302. And in these questions, they typically ask you to give your question to a certain number of decimal places. What I'm going to do is give this answer to 2 decimal places. And if I'm going to give it 2 decimal places, I go back to, I'll draw a line so I can see the number that follows. If that number, okay, is 5 or more, then that 4 will have to round up. In this case, because it's less than 5, I just round off. Okay, so my answer there will be a is equal to 4.44 units. Okay, because it represents a length, it's just units, it's not units squared. Okay, for the second question there, you should have been able to work out the second one yourself. Oh, they actually rounded it to 1 decimal place, you can see 4.4. So for the second one, you should be able to work that out yourself, and you should be able to round off the units, and you should be able to get a value for b, and the value for b that you should be getting in that case is 11.1. But I'll let you try that yourself. There's no point in me going through the same question again. I'll leave you try that one yourselves, right? Okay, so obviously at this stage you would have paused the video. So I'm just going to show you the solutions to that question there. So the solutions are as follows, right? The only thing to be aware of with this question is sometimes this happens where they label the triangle A, B, and C like they did in this question here. And it's important that you always notice that the A that you're using is always the angle that's opposite, or the angle that's given. So A is always the angle that's given. So in this case, while this was labelled B, you need to make sure that you always label the triangle, and you label the triangle based on what you're given, and you need to make sure that A is the angle that's given. So if this is A, this has to be lowercase a, and then B and C, it doesn't matter what order they're in. So what I'm trying to get you to understand here is you can disregard how they label the triangle. You always have to make sure that you label it appropriately to how you want the triangle to be, right? You can see here we've worked all that out. Here I just tidied up this and I got this. The next thing I did was I tidied up this and I got this. And then here I just typed that into the calculator and I got this. Now some of you will write all of this straight into the calculator and get this. Okay? So it doesn't matter if you did that, that's fine. But b squared will be equal to this. So the inverse of b squared is b. B will be equal to the square root of 122. So b will be equal to 11.06396,777. So the answer there is 11.1. Okay, so we're moving on to this one here, which is finding the missing angle. Again, we've got trigonometry. We know it's trigonometry because it's triangles. Angles in a triangle equal 180. It won't help me because I have no angles at all. 90-degree triangle, it's not a 90-degree triangle, so I can't do Pythagoras' theorem, I can't do trig ratios. The area of the triangle, I don't know the area, so it doesn't help me. The sine rule, I've got an angle opposite a side, that's fine, but I don't have another angle opposite a side. So because I don't have another angle opposite a side, I can't use the sine rule. So in this case, I have to use the cosine rule, but some of you will spot straight away, if you've got 3 sides and an angle, it is cosine rule, okay? So we'll get rid of that, and we'll put in what the cosine rule is. The cosine rule is a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos of A. Okay, so just tidy that up, and that's A squared. Okay, so I've got two questions there. The reason I'm giving you two is because I'll talk to the first one, and if people are finding this difficult, they can go through it with me step by step now. If people are finding this easy, they should be flying through that. They should nearly have this question done, and they should be moving on to this question. Okay, and the answers are obviously given to you, so that gives you a chance to see if you get them right or wrong. Okay, so first thing I need to do is label the triangle like given. So in this case, I'm going to label this, and I'm going to label the angle A. So obviously opposite A will be lowercase a, and B and C, it doesn't matter which one is B or which one is C. Okay, and now I need to fill in the information. So A squared is going to be 7 to be squared is equal to B squared, which is going to be 9 to be squared, plus C squared, which is going to be 10 to be squared, minus 2 times B, which is 2 times 9, and C is 10, and cos of the angle is going to be cos of B. So if we just look at that again to make sure we have everything filled in correctly. So you've got A, which is 7, B, which is 9, C, which is 10, B, which is 9, C, which is 10, cos of A, cos of the angle, cos of B. Okay, I'm going to work out everything I can work out. So the next is just real simple math. So 7 squared is going to be 49, is equal to 8 squared, which is 81, plus 10 squared, which is 100, minus 2 times 9. So in this case, 2 times 9, 9 multiplied by 2 is 18. 18 multiplied by 10 is 180. Cos of B. Now, you should be able to see this quite simply, right? So let's just keep simplifying this. So the next step with simplifying this would be to pull these together. So that's what I'm going to do next. Okay, so 49 will be equal to 181 minus 180 cos of B. The next step is I'm looking for a value for B, so I'm going to get rid of anything attached to it. So I'm going to look at this here, and I'm going to bring this over to the right hand side. Okay, so that means I'll have 49 minus 181 equal to negative 180 cos of B. So again, let's tidy that up. So the numbers on the left hand side, I can tidy them up. So 49 take away 181 will give me negative 132. So will be equal to negative 180 cos of B. So I need to find out, obviously I'm looking for a value for B. So this cos B, I'm looking for a value for B. So in order to find the value for B, I need to get rid of this. And I can see here the operation that's between these two is times. So here what I'm saying is negative 180 times cos B. So if I want to get rid of that, I need to divide both sides by negative 180. So negative 132 divided by negative 180 will leave me with cos B. Okay. So in order to find out what B is, well actually before I do that, in order to find out what B is, what I'll do is simplify this fraction here. So I'm just going to simplify this fraction here first. I don't need to, I'm just trying to think what would be the easiest one for you. No, I don't need this. So what I'll do is, if you just look at this, right? So I know what cos of B is equal to. I don't want cos of B, I just want B. So in order to find out what B is, B will be equal to the cos inverse of whatever was over here. So negative 132 all over negative 180. Some of you will realize that I could just, if I have a negative over a negative, it's the same as having a positive, so I don't need to put those negatives in. I could have just left this like that, but just to keep it consistent, I had cos b equals this. So to find out what b is, I need to get the cos inverse of this side to find out what b is, and that will give me b. But because I got the cos inverse of this side to get b, I need to get the cos inverse of this side, which is equal to this. So if I press shift cos, and in my fraction, I should get an answer 42.833. So b will be equal to 42.807. And obviously to one decimal place, that would round up to 43. So in this case, my answer there, b, would be equal to 43. Okay. So that's that one there. I'll highlight the answer so that you can see it at a glance. Okay, so you can see there what the answer is. The answer is 43.